Dad ditched me for new family. My dad and I used to be really close. Even though my parents split up when I was little, I spent most weekends with him. We'd go to the park, play games, and watch movies together. He was like my best friend. He was always there for me, and we always had a lot of fun together. Every weekend felt like a big adventure. He'd take me to this little playground near the zoo that we'd found on our own, and it was always a big adventure. We'd swing so high we felt like we were flying, and climb to the top of the jungle gym to look out at the whole park. It was the best. He'd even tell me funny stories about the animals, and I'd spend hours trying to spot them as we walked around. We always got a giant soft pretzel from the food cart, and he'd let me get extra mustard on it. I loved it, and I loved the way he would always smile when I got excited. It made me feel so happy and loved. Every Saturday, we'd go to Redbox and pick out 5 movies, but we'd never be able to finish them all, no matter how hard we tried. That didn't really matter though, because we'd still watch the ones we liked the most over and over. There was something magical about spending the whole weekend with my dad, and it made me feel really special. We'd cuddle up on the couch with blankets and bowls of popcorn, and laugh at all the silly things the actors did in the movies. I never had to worry about anything because he was there to take care of me and make sure I was always happy. My dad had lots of girlfriends. They always came and went though, so none of them stuck around too long. I'd never spent much time with any of them, and it was weird because I never felt like I needed to get to know them. My dad was my best friend, and he always said he didn't need anyone else to make him happy. We only had one girlfriend that stayed with us for a few years, and she was my favorite. She was always so kind, and I loved spending time with her. She even went with us on our trips to the zoo. It was cool because we could all sit together and watch the animals. We'd share popcorn and laugh at all the silly monkeys. It was like being on a family outing, even though my dad's girlfriend was not my mom. She would also take me shopping sometimes, and she would let me pick out any outfit I wanted. We had so much fun together, and I felt really lucky to have her as a friend. But when I was 10, she left, and that really made my dad sad. He didn't talk much after she left, and I could tell how much he missed her. I didn't know if I should be sad too, because she wasn't really my mom. She was just someone who was nice to us. I thought things would always be the same, even though my dad had a new girlfriend every couple weeks. He still took me to the playground, and we'd always try to finish as many Redbox movies as possible every weekend. It felt like the 3 of us, me, my dad, and the Redbox movies were in a little world, and nothing else mattered. But, when I was 12, my dad met someone who changed everything. His new girlfriend and later wife was really different from the others. She was a little strange, and I didn't know if she was nice because I'd never spent a lot of time with any of his other girlfriends. I just knew that I wasn't crazy about her. She seemed kind of cold. She didn't laugh much, and she always seemed a little angry. She had 2 kids already, one older and one younger than me. I didn't really think much about it, until they all started living at my dad's apartment. My room wasn't very big to start with, but then, my bed was shoved into the corner to make room for the bunk bed his daughters were going to sleep in. I was angry because that was my room and I hated the idea that anyone would be living there with me. I thought that it would be a little nicer if I could at least have some room for my stuff, but I tried to be nice about it, even though it felt like my dad's apartment was suddenly someone else's house. They didn't care that I hardly had any space to keep my stuff. They even put my bed in a closet so I could use it when I was there. I started spending less and less time at his apartment, and after a few months I hated going over. It didn't feel like my dad's apartment anymore, and I thought it would be best to just stay at my mom's place so I wouldn't have to deal with them. They eventually moved into a bigger house. The older sister got her own room, but I had to share with the younger one whenever I visited. They acted like they liked me, but when I got to their house, I was treated more like a guest than like a family member. I felt really hurt by this, because it felt like my dad was forgetting about me. It was weird too, because his daughters never really liked me either. I tried to be nice, but it was always clear that they wished I wasn't around. It was hard to make friends with them, and it just felt like I wasn't a part of the family. I was only there when they wanted me to be there, and it always felt awkward. Then, I found out they were getting married because she was having a baby. I had no idea, and he didn't tell me for a month after the wedding. He just acted like everything was normal, and I felt really confused, because he wasn't doing anything that we used to do together anymore. It was as if he'd just forgotten all about me and the fun times we used to have. Then, weeks after the baby was born, he finally said something. I guess he felt bad about how he'd been acting. He brought his new daughter home from the hospital, but I still felt left out, and I hated how they'd taken my life from me. I didn't understand how my dad could just change his life so suddenly, and I was really upset that he'd left my mom for this other family. I guess maybe I'm being selfish, but I feel really hurt by all of it. I used to love going to the zoo with my dad. It was something we could do together, just the two of us. Now, he's always busy with his new family, and he doesn't really even try to spend time with me anymore. I think my dad thinks I'm not interested in the new baby. It's not that at all, but she's his daughter too. But I also feel like he's not the same person that I remember, because he treats me differently, like I'm not his daughter. It feels like he doesn't even remember me. The little things started to really bother me. He didn't even tell me he was getting married until after it happened, and I didn't know about his daughter until she came home from the hospital. I thought I was the most important thing in his life. He even stopped paying for my mom and me, so my mom was struggling to make ends meet. My dad's new family is a little spoiled, I guess, which is why my dad hasn't had any money for me. He bought his wife a new car and was always buying her and his kids nice things, which is probably why he stopped sending money for us. He used to have money though because I was always asking for something that was too expensive, like a new video game. And I never had to worry about having the money, and he always took me out for pizza. But, it's not like that anymore, so we've had to try to manage without him, and I didn't think my dad would ever stop caring. My stepdad's been with my mom since I was 5, and he's always treated me like I'm his own daughter. I'm pretty sure he even said, "Dad," once when I was little. My birth dad told me not to call him Dad, though. I never understood that, since he's never been anything but kind to me. I guess he wasn't happy that I loved him like a dad. He always made sure I had everything I needed, and he's always been there for me and my mom. I feel really sad thinking about that now, because my stepdad has been really there for me and for my mom, but my dad is my real dad, so I felt conflicted. My dad always made sure I had everything I needed, and he's always been there for me and my mom. But now I don't have that confusion anymore. Now I know what I think of my dad. When I was 13, I found out that my parents didn't actually split up because they were fighting. My dad cheated on my mom while he was visiting his family in Canada. She said they were so in love when she was younger, that's why she decided to stay with him even though she was really hurt when she found out. She was trying to make it work even though she knew what he did was wrong, and eventually she couldn't take it anymore, and she made the hard decision to leave. I don't know what she did before she met my stepdad. I've heard that he was really good to my mom, so it's easy to see why she stayed. She's always happy when he's around. She tells my dad that they need to be together and that it's important for the kids to have a loving family, but I think my dad wants to do his own thing and be with his wife and kids. I'm still angry that he left my mom when she loved him so much. It still makes me mad, even though I know that my parents aren't going to get back together. My mom's been trying to make me spend more time with my dad, but I'm not really interested in going over there now that my dad's not around, and his wife's really mean. His wife makes it very clear that she's not happy that I'm there, and the older sister always acts like she's annoyed with me too. When we visit, I'm always treated as a guest, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to be a part of their family because it feels like I'm always in the way. I'm kind of jealous of the life they have. It's like he traded me in for something better. My mom gets mad because my dad isn't paying child support, so she tells him that I need help with college, and he says he doesn't have the money. He bought his new daughter a big fancy dollhouse, so my mom really thinks he's not taking care of me. I guess she doesn't get it because she always talks to him like they are still friends. She's so desperate for them to get back together. My dad used to be so happy when he came to visit us for the holidays, but I think my dad has a lot more responsibility now with his new family. I still miss him. The weekend I spent at my dad's was the worst. The older sister was a total jerk. She just locked herself in her room whenever I was around. It was like she didn't even want to be seen with me. I think it's because my dad told her how she got a fancy room while I didn't, which made me really angry at the time. My mom was always trying to get us to get along, but nothing would ever work. She always tries to push me into visiting them, but I always try to convince her it's not a good idea because I don't like going to their house anymore. It's kind of like going to see my grandparents' house. It's just that this feels a lot more difficult and a lot more like an unhappy family. It just made me upset knowing he has this perfect family with a new wife and new baby, while my mom and I are left alone. Then, one time at Christmas, my dad gave me $200 and said, "Merry Christmas. Buy yourself something." I was surprised, and I told my mom, but she was too worried about things at work, and she never even asked me what I thought was happening. The money wasn't much. My dad always gave me hundreds of dollars for my birthday and said, "Get whatever you want." My dad had been acting like things were going to go back to the way they were before. Now it was different, and it wasn't even for my birthday. He gave me the money on Christmas Day, but when he told me it was child support, my mom got mad and she called him and said how we hadn't had any money from him in 2 years. It was crazy, because he just didn't seem to care. When I was little he used to love the holidays. I remember that we'd go see Santa at the mall, but that's probably changed now since he's gotten married again. My mom tries to convince me that it's really important to stay in touch with my dad. She says it's important to have a relationship with both of our parents, even though it's clear how he's been treating us. I told her it felt like my stepdad would be a better father than him, and I told her I wished he'd adopt me. But, she said I'm too young to think like that. Even my stepdad didn't want to adopt me. It hurt to know that neither of them really wanted to do that. I can't seem to talk to my mom about this stuff. She always gets mad at me and tells me I shouldn't be so worried about this stuff. I tried telling her how stressed out I am because my dad wasn't taking care of us and he always told my mom how she could get a better job, but she never seemed to listen. The whole situation made me really upset. It just felt like my dad wasn't my dad anymore, so I don't really want to call him that. I guess maybe I shouldn't be upset because it's kind of my fault since I don't call him enough and I don't go over there to visit him. I guess I need to be there for him more. But then I feel like I'm just making his life easier. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just don't understand what to do, and I guess that's why my mom's so mad. She thinks that I'm making her life harder since it's clear she really cares for my dad and really wants us to be a family again, even though my dad doesn't want to be with her anymore. My stepdad's always working, so he doesn't get involved with these fights. But, I feel close to him, and I always have. He's really the only dad I have. My dad still sends me the occasional text message, but all he really does is try to make me feel bad because I don't reach out to him. It's hard not to be resentful, but I still want to see him sometimes because I feel like he's just messing with me. My stepdad says that if I feel like I need to talk to him, then I should try to get in touch, but I'm worried that's the wrong thing to do because my dad always ends up yelling at me or saying mean things. He never wants to listen. He makes me feel really sad when he acts like I'm doing something wrong. It doesn't even feel like he remembers how close we were. I guess it's a good thing I have my books to focus on because they're all I have to feel good about. I'm really into music, and reading, and writing, and I've even finished a book of my own that I'm really proud of. I dedicated my book to him, but it wasn't for him, really. It was a message for the old dad I knew and remembered from my childhood, before he was taken over by the new family. I hope he might see that I don't hate him, I just feel sad because he doesn't love me as much anymore. He said he loves me, but his actions speak louder than words, and it really makes me feel like I'm not important to him anymore. That makes it hard for me to want to have a relationship with him, even though I kind of feel like I have to because of my mom. She says it's the right thing to do, and I'm just trying to understand why she wants that when he doesn't want that for us. I wish that my dad had just taken me to the park, and played games with me, and watched movies with me like he used to. I want to have that kind of relationship with him again. I think maybe I'm being a little unfair, but my dad doesn't understand that I need his help too. I wish that my dad would see that I still need him in my life, and I miss how we used to be. It would be amazing too. Be able to just hang out with him like I used to and spend time together. Maybe one day I'll get the chance, but for now, all I can do is focus on my books and try not to worry about my dad and how he doesn't want me anymore. I wish things could just go back to the way they used to be before he got married and had a new baby. I feel like a total jerk for being upset about it, because he has every right to have a family with someone else, but it's really hard for me to be okay with this. He didn't care about my mom, and now I'm feeling like he doesn't really care about me either. He's still my dad, he always will be. I guess I'm a little bit jealous. I wish that my dad would see that I still need him in my life, and I miss how we used to be. He's changed so much, and now, I don't even know him anymore. But, maybe, with a little bit of time and understanding, we can try to be a family again, even though it doesn't feel like it right now.